Cool. Hey, I'm Billy Glisson with PowerCore 360. I'm the founder. I'm a strength coach, performance coach, work with a lot of athletes, but specifically for this video, volleyball athletes the last 25 years. We run our power hitting clinics across the country. And in just a second, I'm going to show you a post that someone out there listed or posted, and we're going to respond to that in today's video. With me today is Jim Murray. Jim and I have worked together for 24, 25 years. Jim, introduce yourself, please.
You bet. I'm the head coach and the director of the Front Range Volleyball Club in Englewood, Colorado. I've coached at almost every level, collegiately, professionally, did some international work with the USA Youth National Team and some scouting for the USA Women's National Team in the early 2000s. And yeah, ready to roll.
Awesome. So I think the format of today's video is Jim and I are going to talk back and forth. He's the volleyball expert. I'm more of a development person. We work together, kind of Pat and Mike are hand in glove with this pretty nicely. So that being said, I'm going to first just share the post. This is what was posted on our YouTube channel the other day. And so I'm going to read this. You can see it yourself, but basically fix your approach. No part of you should be out of bounds when starting your approach. Your approach should be either at its widest, straight up the sideline, or better yet, an inside approach where you start basically where you pass. And then he goes on, talks about Karch and what they're teaching at the national team now, or what he used to do when he played. But that's the background on this. So that being said, Jim, first, I'm going to start with why does a hitter do an approach inside the court, outside the court? I mean, I learned from you decades ago that the purpose of the approach was to create speed momentum. And I can tell you from someone that runs these clinics and works with a lot of young hitters, it's true. If we can take an athlete and in our clinics, as you've seen as one of our coaches, we go across the country and we see a kid starting at the 10-foot line. And so they're taking 2, 3, 4 steps, whatever their approach is. They're not covering any ground. They're getting no speed. Their vertical jump isn't high. They're not hitting the ball hard. And of course, the first thing we're doing in a clinic, and I've seen you do with your athletes for 25 years, is we move them back. Whether they're inside the court, outside the court, we want them to cover ground. That gives them momentum. It gives them speed. They're immediately going to jump higher. They're immediately going to hit the ball harder because of the use of that momentum. So anything to add there, Jim?
You bet. And I think we should clarify that we're talking mostly about left side attackers who are right-handed because, getting them off the net and off the court is just a basic, fundamental, foundational thing that they have to be able to do. Now, there are significant advantages when a left side hitter is interior or inside the court and then wanting to run attack patterns, whether they're an attack pattern out back to the antenna or any kind of interior, what we might call combination play set attack patterns, where they might run an inside lob or even a combination 2-set from that left side position, and easier to get to those sets from an interior position inside the court. So there's definitely advantages there tactically. A lot of times that can be coming out of serve receive. A free ball, you receive a free ball, that's another time that a left side hitter can tuck in and then run these interior plays and just give the block different angles that they now have to pay attention to and try in front. There are also situations where a left side attacker might be interior in the court, like defensively, they might have tip responsibilities to the opponent left side attack that would pull them in the court. And then in transition, they might not have the time to get back outside and they would have to run some kind of interior pattern. Another time would be in serve receive. The serve might take them interior in the court and they would not then have time to get back outside. Maybe it might be a lower pass, a faster pass. So there's definitely tactical and situational advantages for being able to have left side attackers running interior attack routes.
Awesome. I made some notes, and let's just kind of go through some of those, and you can verify, validate, or go a different direction. But staying inside the court, one of the bullet points we wrote down and for our discussion is it's a quicker attack option. if you start inside the court. Is that true, false, or what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's basically true. I mean, anytime that the left side attacker comes inside the court, they open themselves up to run what we call faster combination-ish or interior attack routes, which are going to happen faster. You know, a combination two set runs a lot faster than even a tempo set to the left side attacker or an interior lob set. So for sure, when the left side attacker comes inside the court, they have quicker attack routes that they can run that are available to them. True.
Awesome. Next point, true or false, better for inside or tight sets?
I think in general it's probably true, just because again the hitter is closer to the net, so they're going to be able to go get a tighter set a little bit easier than a left side attacker who is, you know, deeply off the court and wide off the sideline. It's definitely trickier to manage a tight set, especially if the setter misses inside, misses short for the left side attacker who's transitioning off the court.
Gotcha. Um, More straight line power from the inside, you get more straight line power or not?
I think in general, probably. I mean, we're assuming that this is a set that is not a miss by the setter, that it's a good accurate set. Because when a left side hitter comes interior, if they run a two set, if they run an inside lob, they're closer to that ball. It's a straight line approach, basically. I think it's a little trickier when you're making an inside out move to the left side, the wide zone. That takes some training, I have found, to get players comfortable and be able to really generate velocity. But for sure, on any interior set, whether it's a two or an inside lob, they're going to be able to generate a lot more power.
Yeah, cool. And just a quick sidebar for me, this concept of straight line power, I think is really an important one. And I'm not suggesting it's better inside or outside approach, but it's a really important piece. And one of the things we teach, obviously, is rotation. We want the body to turn, create torque. And one of the things we're constantly then working on with the athletes is your body's turning, but we want that hand and arm and ultimately the ball, hand going straight through the ball to your target in a straight line relationship. Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. That's going to give you the most arm speed, ball speed, hit a heavy ball, however you want to say. It's going to increase your chances of hitting a ball hard. So the concept of straight line, I think, is super important. But to Jim's point, I'm not sure necessarily always that working inside the court gives you a straight line relationship. And maybe Jim, talk about the differences maybe on where the ball is set at. And is it always a straight line inside the court, or does it depend on the set? How does that work?
Yeah, it all depends on like the setter's ability to deliver the ball accurately, right? So we're basically talking about an in-system pass or dig where the setter is, you know, within an arm's length of the net and around the middle of the court. They're receiving that ball, and the left side hitter is interior. So in that situation, the setter delivers, you know, a pretty accurate two set or an inside lob set that's accurate. The interior hitter is going to be able to get in good relationship with that ball and keep the ball kind of out in front of them and out in front of their right shoulder. Again, we're talking about a right-handed left side hitter. Now those sets can be missed, and if the two ball is missed wide or the inside lob is missed wide and it gets over the right-handed hitter's left side, now it becomes very awkward to try and get around that ball and develop power. But you know, as we're talking about this straight line power, that relationship now is not necessarily a straight line because the ball has gone wider than I expected, and now I'm going to make an adjustment to try and get the ball back in front of me, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you for talking through that. Next bullet point, true or false, improved vision. Does staying in the court can give a hitter a better view of the block and defense as they approach? Is that true or false?
I think it certainly can be true. I mean, you know, Billy, right? Our world, we try and stay out of absolutes, right? Because it's just, you're always going to be able to find a situation that doesn't fit, right? But I think in general, you know, that when hitters are inside the court and they're running some kind of interior second tempo set or tempo set, that they're going to be able to kind of see the block forming in front of them a little bit easier, especially if the hitter is younger than they will when they're getting off the court and deep off the court, deep off the net and wide off the court, like this right-handed left side hitter that we're talking about. I think that takes some time to develop the kind of vision that you would want. That I think I could see it being easier to see that stuff from inside the court.
Okay. Last question, true or false, staying inside the court. Consistency in crowded rotations. Does that mean, so in some serve receive formation, staying inside helps maintain smoother spacing with the passer and libero?
That's an interesting point. I think that again, it all depends, right? It's the 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 left side attacker who's passing in position 5. Oftentimes whatever is happening with the middle blocker is going to be happening in front of them, and then they can, depending on the level of the team, right, they can then counter what that middle blocker, that middle attacker, is running in their attack pattern. So it could help, with that middle blocker and their attack route. But again, there's an instance where if that passer from position 5 has got to go in and short and pick up a ball or pass a ball that could interfere with the middle blocker's attack pattern, the middle attacker's attack pattern, then it could create congestion. So I think it's situational as to whether that point is accurate.
Cool. Awesome. Let's transition now into approaching from outside the court. And maybe just if somebody came in late here, define what outside the court is once again from a
Yeah,
simple.
so we're specifically talking about a right-handed left side attacker getting off the net and outside the sideline of the court. One of the things that we try and do with the age level of players that we're dealing with in the clinics is, we're dealing with kind of this probably 14 to 16-year-old player, female player in most instances, and they usually approach very tight, they only get like 10, 11 feet off the net, and we try and get them back there 18, 19, 20 feet off the net and 7, 8, 9 feet wide of the sideline as a left side attacker, a right-handed left side attacker. That's where we're trying to get them on an outside in approach.
Awesome. By doing that, first true false question in relation to doing your approach from outside the court, does it in fact create a better angle for the hitter?
So a right-handed left side attacker getting off the net and off the court, I do believe creates a very good angle for them to come in and approach on. In fact, if the setter misses the set a little bit wide, so a little bit past the antenna, if the hitter is outside the court, they can still kind of rescue or save that ball and hit it into the court if it's only missing by half a zone or so. Any set that misses more than a zone is obviously going to be problematic, and the hitter's going to be saving that ball and just trying to keep it alive.
Okay. Does it then in fact expand shot options for the hitter?
I mean, both instances, right, have the hitters have ability to create different shots. So if what we just talked about being an interior hitter, right? So when the left side hitter's inside, if they're given an accurate set, whether they're running a 2, an inside lob, or an inside wide zone set, a ball that's within a meter of the left antenna, if the set's accurate, the hitter is going to be able to create shots from sideline to sideline. And same thing is true if the left side hitter who's right-handed gets off the net and off the court. If it's an accurate set, then the hitter's going to be able to hit from sideline to sideline. It's the problem, hitters get kind of trapped when the setter misses. So if a setter misses short for this left side, this wide zone set, if they miss short, if the hitter's interior, they're going to be able to adjust to that ball easier because they're already inside the court. if the hitter is wide off the sideline and the setter misses short and the hitter's expecting a ball within a meter of the left antenna, they're going to have a hard time getting to that ball because they're so wide. Conversely, if the setter were to miss that set wide, so the ball's a half a zone, let's say, past the antenna, if the hitter is interior, they're going to have a very difficult time getting around that ball and trying to save it. Whereas the left side hitter who's off the net and off the court, left of the sideline, they're going to be able to rescue that ball a little bit easier because of their positioning in relation to the set. So it just depends on where the miss is compared to where the hitter is.
Gotcha. Cool. One segue in for me on this is to talk about power hitting, right? I mean, once again, in the clinics, we're trying to teach the athletes to rotate, specifically a right-handed left side hitter. We're trying to get them to open their chest to the right sideline so they actually can engage their core muscles. They're going to use their core plus their arm to hit with. If you're teaching them, and most of our athletes, once again, when they come into the clinic at the start, they're 10 feet off the net. A lot of the times they are coming straight in. They're not opening at all. So they're stuck with just an arm swing movement, right? So there's limited arm speed or power with that. So of course, we're teaching them to come in from the left side off the court into the points Jim was just making. And I'm going to add just a really practical one that I see, which is the athletes now already opened up a little bit, right? And if they can just close their shoulders, close their hips, and swing through the ball, whether they're hitting an angle shot or a down the line shot, they're going to hit with more power and they're going to see the ball better. They're going to see the setter. They're going to see the court. So for me, it's like, yes, as a default, that's what we teach initially. And that's why, for the reasons Jim's talking about, and then from a power perspective, they're already opened a little bit. We want them to open more, which is what we teach, but they're already opened a little bit. So that's already better, right? They get a little distance and open a little bit more. They're already going to hit the ball harder because of that core engagement.
Yeah. And let me add a point because it kind of flashed in my mind as you were talking there, Billy, because we're talking about the setter being basically in system on the serve receive pass or the dig. As soon as the setter is coming off the net, 9, 10, 11, 12 or more feet because the pass is less accurate, that interior left side hitter, now the angles on whatever set they're running become problematic because the setter is so far off the net that the hitter starts to lose vision because they're looking to their right to see the setter, whereas the left side hitter who is off the net and off the court, as the setter comes off the net for a like a 2 option or a 1 option pass or dig, now that left side hitter can still see the setter, still have vision with the net and the block, and it's a little bit easier to see that out of system set come to them versus an interior left side hitter starts to lose the angle on those sets, starts to lose the vision of the block for sure because they've now got to look at the hitter who might be 12, 13, 14 feet off the net. And now those angles on that set become kind of problematic because the setter has to move the ball not only into the hitting zone, but also towards the net. And you can imagine if the hitter's 18 or 19 feet off the net, the setter has to come 12, 13, or 14 feet off the net. And now the set has to go to the zone and it's going to be moving towards the net away from the attacker. It becomes more difficult to hit those kind of sets in that situation from an interior position.
Yeah, that's huge. And me visualizing all that is if I'm inside the court on that out of system ball, setter's way off the net. Basically, I'm just trying to get the ball in play and over the net with less probability that I'm going to actually score a point versus seems like from what you're saying coming off outside the court, the angle's better. I can actually rotate, hit the ball, not just get it over the net. I can actually hit an angled shot or something else and actually score, which I think is the ultimate objective of the game, right? Or
exactly.
shot. So
yeah, you're exactly right.
Gotcha. Couple others. What about rhythm? Speak to the rhythm if I'm coming from offside the court. How does that impact rhythm?
Yeah, so rhythm's an interesting thing, right? Because again, if the setter is accurate, it doesn't matter if the hitter is inside the court or outside the court. You can receive rhythm sets equally effectively or equally easily if the set's accurate. I don't think there's I don't think there's an advantage or disadvantage either way from receiving a rhythm set, or an in rhythm set. The only advantage I think from coming interior is that you have the ability to run sets in different zones along the net, versus if you go wide and deep off the court, if you go deep off the net and wide off the sideline, you can hit the wide ball and you can hit another ball that's maybe a zone inside of that. But in both instances, you're going to be able to deliver or be able to hit in rhythm sets. And the setters really only going to be setting stuff in rhythm, if or in, faster tempo kind of sets. They're only going to be doing that if they're in system or the pass or dig is very, very accurate.
Gotcha. What about congestion? If I come from off the court, does that open up some space on the court?
Well, for sure, right? Because like we said earlier, if I'm a passer in position five, I'm a passer hitter in position five, and the serve takes me in towards the middle of the court, I could interfere with the middle attacker's attack lane. Um, and now everything's kind of congested. Uh, if I'm a left side hitter, I'm passing in position five, and the ball doesn't come to me, now I can release outside early, and now the middle is free to come off and run whatever pattern they want to, assuming that the server has not served into her attack lane and forced the passer in position six or position one to come in there and pick the ball up, because the attack lane could still be interfered with in that instance. But that left side hitter has the ability to release. Now, for sure, it opens up attack lanes for not only the middle hitter but also the opposite hitter if they're coming in to run something in combination with the middle hitter pattern, if they're a front row player, or if there are back row attack patterns that are developing around the middle. The congestion could happen based on where the serve is, where the serve goes. And that left side hitter could be part of the congestion if they have to handle the ball, or it could be one of the other passers congesting those lanes. So again, all this stuff is very situational.
Yeah, yeah, got it. Last thing, and this is really a response for me to one of the things that the person said in their post, that they made the comment that if you widen the approach, if you do your approach from outside the court, that you are in fact telegraphing an angled shot. Maybe speak to that. Is that true?
No, I don't. No, that's not true. I mean, for decades, we've been watching left side hitters in the men's game and the women's game and get off the net and wide off the court. Again, talking about a right-handed left side hitter. Most of them, almost all of them, have the ability to get into that space deep off the net and wide off the court. And again, assuming that the set is in the zone that the hitter is expecting, they'll have the ability to hit, from sideline to sideline, in that situation. Now, they're also going to be able to do that on an accurate set if they're inside the court. So both things are happening. It doesn't really telegraph. Left side hitters who are off the net and off the court don't just hit cross court. They rotate into the ball and they can hit the ball down the line or line seam or deep high cross. It doesn't really, the limiting factor will be if the set is missed, and that then commits the hitter to, whether they're interior or exterior, that could then commit the hitter to one or two specific shots.
Yeah. And it's a segue for me, as that takes us into so much of what you said. It's very situational. It's very dependent on all these things on that set and where it's at. And from a practical perspective, and once again, you've seen this a bunch of times in our clinics. Once again, we're dealing with 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old athletes, young hitters in the clinics. And so many times the set is not a good set for them, right? And so you said to me maybe decades ago when we were talking about attacking one day, and we talked about, hey, Jim, should it be a three-step approach? Should it be a four-step approach? And your response was something like, I don't care if it's a 10-step approach.
Yep.
You're on the court, and as an athlete, quit worrying about how many steps it needs to be. If you're an athlete, you need to be able to adapt, adjust, have the athletic ability, and probably train that athletic ability to get the ball, hit the ball hard, get it over the net, and try to score, no matter how many steps there are. So, to
Yep.
that point, maybe relate that concept now into, if haven't done it already, is there any more to add to that in terms of the hitter? And then once again, these setters at a young age, at 13 and 14, the sets aren't going to be very good and probably aren't going to be very consistent. So,
Yeah.
anything you want to expand on or add to that?
In general, I think that young hitters, they need to learn the correct footwork sequence, that's for sure. But what I have seen in our clinics is that the young hitters are so caught up in, I do a 3-step approach or I do a 4-step approach, that they aren't even very dynamic or athletic or quick. And what's really, one of the things I think we try and impart to them is that the last 2 steps have got to be dynamic and explosive, and we've got to be adaptive in the footwork going into that. Sure, sometimes the footwork's going to be left, right, left for a right-handed hitter. Sometimes it's going to be right, left, right, left. Sometimes there's going to be more steps because they're inside the court, they've just passed the ball, and they may have to shuffle and then engage footwork, right? Sometimes in transition, you're just not going to have the time to get very far off the net or off the court, and you may only have to go right left on the takeoff or left right left. I think that hitters in general have got to become more adaptive and be able to adjust their footwork size and direction as they're attacking or approaching different sets. And so the last 2 steps can be really dynamic and in the right sequence. Because every once in a while we'll see hitters that have reversed footwork, and that just puts their body in a very awkward position, really hard to open up and then rotate into the ball. So last 2 steps in the right sequence, that's ultimately important. But hitters have got to become more adaptable in how many steps they take going into those last 2 steps, I think.
Yeah, and I'm going to maybe lay the foundation for maybe another video down the road, but to dovetail off of that, at the clinics, we're teaching the basics of how to open, how to close, how to swing straight through the ball, and land on 2 feet and create power and not hurt your shoulder, your back, your knees on the landing, right? And all those are concepts that we teach. That's the basics. Whether you're coming from inside the court, outside the court, that's all. This has been great. The next level of this is once the athlete's got the fundamental movements down, including the footwork and the approach, then certainly I've done it and I've seen Jim do it as well. Now we're getting into more advanced stuff. We're maybe hitting an out of system ball. We might be hitting out of the back row, right? And just like, you don't have an approach, but there's the ball that just came off a tip or off a bad pass or set. You got to jump up and try to put something on the ball and score. Not just get it over the net, but actually do something with the ball and attack. So there's a whole next level for this whole stuff. And I think today's purpose is let's just answer that question: inside approach, outside approach, what's better? I think we've heard there's really not an absolute. It's very situational. But really where I'm going with the final statement here is that as an athlete, as a hitter, you better train, and you better train these things in terms of your approach on the court, off the court. And then there's a whole other level. If you want to be a college player, a college hitter, and be really dynamic, which is what coaches want, you better be able to do more than just the basics, right? Hit back row, hit it out of system ball, and be productive with it. So, Jim, anything else from your side?
That's what I got.
Cool, awesome. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you for chiming in, providing your volleyball expertise here. Anybody out there that wants further information about our clinics or PowerCore 360, go to powercore360.com, and we'd love to chat with you. Have a great day. Thanks, Jim.
See you.